Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of H.R. 889, the Foreign Cultural Exchange Jurisdictional Immunity Clarification Act. This bill makes a modest but important amendment to the expropriation exception of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act of 1976. Specifically ensures foreign states are immune from suits for damages concerning the ownership of cultural property when there are three particular and important ingredients. One, that the property is in the United States pursuant to an agreement between the foreign state and the U.S. or a U.S.-based cultural or educational institution. Two, the President has granted the work at issue immunity from seizure pursuant to the Immunity from Seizure Act. And three, that the President's grant of immunity from seizure is published in the Federal Register. All three of those conditions must be met. The expropriation exception remains available to all claims concerning misappropriated cultural property to which these factual circumstances do not apply. I would not support this bill if it did not contain a sufficient exception for claims arising from artwork stolen by the Nazis, their allies, and their affiliates. H.R. 889 has such an exception, ensuring that victims of Nazi art theft continue to have the opportunity to pursue justice in court. This exception is appropriate and important in light of the sheer scale and the particularly concerted efforts of the Nazis to seize artwork and other cultural property from their victims. A movie that was directed and starred in by George Clooney, called The Monuments Men, brought to America's attention the extreme depth at which the Nazis went to confiscate art, steal art, and try to keep it for their own uses and for the future of what they saw as a Nazi world. In that film, American soldiers were shown extreme danger to themselves and great heroic acts to save that artwork, to locate it and save it for generations to come. In fact, those particular survivors will be given a Congressional Gold Medal for their work. Another recent film, Woman in Gold, tells the story of Maria Altman. It surrounds compensation for artwork stolen by the Nazis and has been highlighted recently in the theaters. Mrs. Altman's effort to retrieve works by Gustav Klimt that the Nazis had taken from her uncle in Austria in the 30s led to an important Supreme Court decision that held that the expropriation exception applied to claims arising prior to the SIA's enactment in 1976, which allowed Nazi-era victims to file suit for damages in federal court. It's critical to note that the bill's sponsors worked with the Conference on Jewish Material Claims against Germany to revise the Nazi-era exception to ensure that it was broad enough to be a meaningful exception. As a result, the conference has stated for itself and for the American Jewish community that it will not oppose the bill. I also note that all of the FSIA's other exceptions to sovereign immunity remain available to potential plaintiffs with claims concerning the ownership of cultural property. In particular, I note this bill does nothing to affect the attempts of Chabad to seek enforcement of its 2011 judgment against Russia, both because such judgment would predate the effective date of this bill and because it was not predicated on the loan of any artwork to the U.S., meaning this bill would not have any effect in that case, even if it had been in effect in 2011. To the extent it may be necessary, I would encourage consideration of adding clarifying language that this bill does nothing to affect enforcement of an already entered judgment. H.R. 889 is narrowly tailored to ensure that it provides for just enough immunity to encourage foreign states to lend their cultural property to American museums and universities, accordingly then to the American people, young people and older, for temporary exhibits and displays without protecting more than we intend to protect. The bill ensures that works that have already been granted immunity from seizure by the President pursuant to the Immunity from Seizure Act are also immune from suits for damages, which is in keeping with the Act's purpose of encouraging foreign countries to lend their works to American institutions without fear of litigation based on the act of lending these works. In essence, if you believe in art, you like art, you think people should see art, and you like your museums, you ought to be for this bill. And that's why I thank Representative Steve Chabot, Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte, and the Ranking Member John Conyers for the leadership on this issue and for allowing me to manage this time and be part of this initiative. And urge my colleagues to support the bill. And I yield back. I reserve